Cultivation is one of my favorite subgenres in the fantasy genre, and it often does not get the hype it truly deserves. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my top 10 favorite series in this genre so far, so let's jump into it. Hey everybody, welcome back to Fantasy Inc. My name is Wyeth, and in today's video we are talking Cultivation, or Xianxia, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not, then I'm ready to be taken down on this hill. But enough jokes, we're gonna go ahead and jump into the top 10, or at least my favorite. Starting out with number 10, it's going to be The First Law of Cultivation by Crazy Cody. This series has recently caught my attention with a phenomenal protagonist known as Lugia, and I have to say I am a big fan. Our main protagonist has been isekai'd into a new body, having recently deceased from a fight. Or maybe not deceased, has just been more subverted. And this gentleman is ready to pack his bags up and leave the cultivation world up until he has a fated encounter with an alchemist who is able to heal him with a few pills and healing herbs. The protagonist wants to repay this debt and become his pupil and learn the ways of alchemy, and bringing his knowledge of Earth with a science flair to it. And his main goal now is to try and bring science to the rest of the world, teaching people how cultivation can be really broken down into logical steps, opposed to it being hoarded knowledge so far. A very admirable goal that not a lot of protagonists I've seen in the past have picked up themselves. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing where this series takes us, and I hope y'all give it a try as well. The 9th series on this list that I'd love for y'all to check on out is Immortality Starts with Generosity by Plutus. This one is a very interesting concept that I haven't seen touched on when it comes to cultivation. Similar to our last series, an earthborn person has taken over the body of a cultivator on a new world. Where the difference lies is he doesn't want to teach everyone about cultivation in a scientific manner. No, he wants to give presents to those that he can and become a generous and virtuous soul. And every time he gives a present to someone who falls into a certain category, he receives a gift 100-fold. So take it like if you were to give $1 to someone on the street, you'd find $100 in your own dimensional space the very next second. You can see how when it comes to cultivation, and we're talking spirit herbs, we're talking weapons, we're talking cultivation manuals, getting a 100-fold increase on any of those gifts can very much allow the individual to skyrocket up through the ranks. And that is exactly what our protagonist does. Though he does not have the memories from his previous body's life, he learns that that gentleman was not the kindest person. So it's an uphill battle that he has to try his best to maneuver, whether that be politically or just trying to save his life from the assassins and the enemies he's made along the way. So highly recommend this series. It's a great concept, and I can't wait to see how far it's taken. Number 8 on this series is a fairly popular one that a lot of y'all may know about, but of course I've got to add it to the list, and it's called Heretical Fishing. This one is by Haylock Jobson, and it is going in a completely different direction other than maybe one or two similar series out there that y'all know who I'm talking about. And with this one, it's almost all of these are isekai now that I'm kind of getting into it. But our main protagonist is a billionaire's son from Australia, and after a fateful meeting with Truckun, he's transported to a new world on the coast where he's allowed to finally get away from all the baggage from his previous life and do something he's always dreamed about doing. And you guessed it, it's fishing. Though there's a few hurdles here when it comes to fishing in this new world, because it is very much looked down upon by the kingdom he finds himself in. Very much heretical, you might say. And he really doesn't care. And his availability to subvert expectations from the townsfolk, ignore the cults that are floundering all around him, and learn how to cultivate by making a good meal is a fantastic reason to pick up this series. I've very much enjoyed it so far, so I cannot wait to continue on this series and figure out how Fisher is going to change the expectations and social norms of an entire kingdom by making seafood. Number 7 on this list is a change of pace. It is our first one, and probably one of the few that is not an actual isekai, and that is Path of the Berserker by Rick Scott. I love this series because its world building is so unique. We find Earth has been taken over by basically human-like aliens, and they all practice cultivation and have tried their best to exterminate everyone over a certain age. Our main character, Max, who was around the age of 8 or 9, has gotten to see his family sadly pass away, and he's raised by this new empire that spans the galaxies. Now, after a time skip, he's a young man with a lot of fury in his heart, and after a fated encounter, he learns that the way the empire cultivates is not the only way to do it. And now, with that knowledge, he strives for more power, trying to create a sect of his own and do what is right for the Terrans that still live on Earth. And you guessed it, try to take down the empire that has completely changed his life. This one is such an interesting read, and Max is a very angry young man, but a very compelling character at that. And oh my goodness, I love this series so much. I cannot wait for book 4. Number 6 on this list is going to be Virtuous Sons by Yeah Boy. I love Virtuous Sons, and for a few reasons. It's a Greco-Roman cultivation twist, and it's very much one of its own kind because it's got such personality, and I haven't read really anything like this book series. It comes down to it, we have two main protagonists. One is named Leo, or Griffin eventually, who comes from a very prominent family, and the other is Sol, who is actually Leo's family's servant, or for lack of a better term, slave. And they become fast friends after a few fights and chummy words and shared stories, and they do their best to try and find their freedom, one quite literally and one more metaphorically. And oh my goodness, there's 2 books out in this series so far. I believe, sadly, the 3rd book in the series for audio was dropped by the publisher due to the fact that it was not getting enough sales out there. That is at least what I heard from a commenter when I posted a video on this. So if you're looking for more information on the series, feel free to check out that video right there. But oh, geez Louise, I loved it, and I hope another publisher comes and picks this one up because it is such a good series. Alright, I've been alluding to it throughout the video so far, so I cannot wait to talk about it, and that is going to be number 5, Beware of Chicken by Casual Farmer. Initially a Royal Road series that captivated the hearts of many of people out there. I can definitely attest to that. Our main character is, ironically, isekai'd into a gentleman's body after being in a fight with more powerful cultivators, and where he differs from others out there, he decides that cultivation is just not for him, and he'd much rather escape all the heavenly tribulations, all the fights, all the young masters who are very much having a chip on their shoulder, and he wants to go and do something different in a very safe environment, and that is to become a farmer. He finds a map and locates a place with very, very low cultivation aspects and decides to take a trip on out there to build a farm. And though there are many roadblocks along the way, I have yet to find a more heartwarming slice of life book series out there. I am in love with Beware of Chicken. I know many people are. As of right now, there are 4 books out, if I'm not mistaken, and a 5th book on the way soon. And it is one series that I know for a fact is just going to be phenomenal to finish, even though I regret having that thought in the first place because it's one of those series you just never want to end. Number 4 on this list is one of my personal favorites, and it is Unintended Cultivator by Eric Don Tigney. I think that this series here is one of the most truthful to the genre out of this entire list. Our main character, Sen, is a local orphan boy in a small town. Ironically, yeah, it's not an isekai, but he is just trying to survive and avoid the bullies in his own small little town up until a nascent soul cultivator comes along and sees his potential and takes him under his wings into a mountain where other nascent soul cultivators actually live. And the first book in itself is very much just a training montage, seeing him grow from a young boy into a young man. And I am so enraptured by what authors can do if they have a fantastic understanding of Xianxia and have the ability to really allow the main characters to dive deep into what cultivation truly is, strengthening the mind, body, and spirit, ideally in the pursuit of immortality and to ascend to a new plane. And that is exactly what we're getting here. It's so compelling, and I know for a fact that the next book after this one is just going to jump back into the nitty-gritty, and I'm going to love every single second of it. So if you're looking for something very true to the genre in itself, Unintended Cultivator is where you should start. Number 3 on this list is definitely one of the most controversial picks out there, and that is Cradle by Will Wight. Ironically, it is either everyone's favorite cultivation book series or everyone's most hated cultivation book series. I can see both sides of the fence. Personally, it's number 3 for a reason for me. I am a big fan of Cradle. It follows our main character, Lyndon, similar to Unintended Cultivator. It is a young man living in a small town who gets wrapped up with world events after he figures out that he has a whole lot of potential, and after getting involved with potential love interest, he has to flee where he's from and try his best to climb the ranks of cultivation with a very interesting mentor after a few books. So I know for a fact a lot of people have a hard time with progression fantasy as a genre type, and very much so that Cradle is a combination of cultivation and progression fantasy, almost more so progression, and that is why it's a hard pill to swallow. But personally, I'm a big fan of the genre in itself, both of them in this case, and I honestly think that Cradle is one of the pillars of the cultivation genre out there, and if you consider yourself a fan of the genre, you're eventually going to have to pick this one up, and I think it's not a have to, but a desire to, because like I said, it is one of the pillars. Number 2 on this list is going to be the dark horse when it comes to this genre. Everyone who is in the know all agrees that Dragonheart is one of the best in the genre as a whole, and it has a lot of reasons why. The first being Hajar. Hajar is one of the most sincere and most scary main characters out there. It's similar to a lot of the other series. It's an isekai, but instead of jumping into a young noble's middle years or his teenage years, this gentleman is born into a new world, and he is a prince. Though he finds out that his kingdom is really a speck of dust in the grand scheme of things. And though it might look to the layman like he has everything handed to him, he is just a peasant compared to some of the true royalty out there. And though he has a very compelling backstory from Earth, he's willing to do whatever it takes to become more powerful and avenge the people who need avenging. The first 3 books in this series could have just stopped there, in all honesty. They were written so beautifully, and they've gotten Hajar's hero's journey done so well, but the author decided to take things even further and make this a 22-book series, and I am so thankful that the author did that. Currently, I'm on book 17 or 18. I put it down for a little bit, and I'm looking forward to picking it back on up. The version I read is translated from Russian, I do believe, so it does have a very own distinct flavor to the cultivation genre. I imagine if you have not picked the series up, you are incredibly lucky, because so many people would rather trade places with you to read this series through for the first time. So again, one of the pillars in the genre, just like Cradle is, but less controversial. Finally, we have come to number 1 on this list, and I won't hold it back any longer. It is Defiance of the Fall by the first to fire, J.F. Brink. This is very much a personal pick of mine. I know some people would rather leave it or take it, but it is my favorite for so many reasons. J.F. Brink has a way of staying true to the subgenre while then going so much further and making his own version of a Xianxia novel out there, and I am in love with it. It starts out with our main protagonist, Zach, who is on a camping trip with a few of his friends and his girlfriend up until he finds himself trapped on an island with a demon incursion. And he learns that the system has come to Earth and he is not a cultivator. He's what's considered a mortal. And that means that his journey for more power is that much harder, but he's willing to do what it takes to survive himself, save his family, and then go further and try to save Earth from an even worse fate. It is very much like Dragonheart, where you find out that you are just a speck of dirt in the grand scheme of things, though where Dragonheart is limited to this one world, Zack finds out that the entire universe is a battlefield in itself, and if he wants to survive and make sure that Earth can prosper, he needs to play the game. And oh my goodness, there's so many great arcs in this book, and there's so many phenomenal side characters as well. If I ever have a sidekick, I would just hope that they were 1/10 of what Agras is, and I've recently actually been rereading this series, cherry-picking here and there, jumping from book to book, but book 15 should be on its way fairly soon, and I cannot wait to devour it because we are getting to a point in the series that's been alluded to for a very long time, and I am so dang excited. So I hope y'all agree with my list. If you do disagree though, let me know what y'all's picks are in the comments below. What series did I not mention here that I need to check out to really make the list even better next time? If you have checked out one of the series here and it's one of your personal favorites, let me know in the comments below as well. I'd love to chat with y'all about it. And with that, I do appreciate everyone's time, and be sure to keep reading.